My beloved, have you ever paused, truly paused, and asked yourself, why you? Why, out of all the generations stretching back through time, from ancestors whose names you've never known to stories that were long buried in silence, are you the one hearing this message today? Why are you, in this exact moment in history, standing on this holy threshold, hearing words that feel like they were written directly for your soul? I assure you, nothing about this is random. Not the timing, not your presence, not even the breath you are taking as you listen now. Everything, absolutely everything, is by divine design. Think deeply for a moment. Before you were born, where were you? In what sacred space did your soul exist before it entered this body, these eyes, this voice, this heart that still dares to dream? The Bible answers in Jeremiah 1 verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." You were not an accident. You were not ordinary. You were set apart, appointed by the Almighty Himself, and handpicked for a purpose that shakes the very foundation of your bloodline. While generations before you walked through hardship, pain, limitation, and silence, you were chosen to be different. Others in your family may have grown numb to struggle. They may have come to believe that poverty, disappointment, or just enough is the normal. But you, dear chosen one, are here to interrupt that pattern. You are the one heaven has selected to stand up, to break every generational chain, and to usher in a new legacy of abundance. You are not just the next in line, you are the line breaker. You are the first. But let me be clear, this isn't just about you. No, this is much bigger. This is about those who came before you. The ones who whispered desperate prayers into the heavens, hoping that one day someone just like you, would rise and carry the torch of freedom. This is about their tears, their sacrifices, and the silent dreams they buried, praying that someone in their lineage would finally bring those dreams to life. You are not an isolated miracle, you are the answer to generations of longing. In Exodus 3 verse 10, God said to Moses, "Now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Moses, who came from a lineage of slavery, who knew only chains and captivity, was chosen. Not because he was powerful. Not because he was perfect. But because he was willing. And just like Moses, you too have been chosen, not to continue the legacy of limitation, but to break it, to confront it, and to liberate every soul still bound by it. The chains that have held your family for decades, chains of lack, fear, shame, silence, they stop with you. Let this truth settle deep into your bones. You are the first in your lineage to step into unimaginable abundance. The first to taste a freedom that your ancestors only dreamed of. The first to believe that wealth, joy, peace, and divine purpose are not for other people, but for you. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because your spirit was ready to hear what heaven has been waiting to say. This is your time. This is your moment to rise. Perhaps you felt this calling before, the silent pull on your spirit. Maybe you were the odd one out in your family. The one who questioned, who saw more, who dreamed bigger. That wasn't rebellion, it was divine activation. That wasn't you being difficult, it was you being set apart. Can you see it now? The hand of God was always on your life, even when you didn't understand the path. Even when the burden felt too heavy or the calling felt too vast. You were being prepared for this moment. Not to conform, but to transform. And now, the invitation is before you. Not everyone hears it. Not everyone responds. But you, chosen one, are hearing it now because your heart is ready. So I ask you, are you ready to step forward? Not just into a new mindset, but into a new destiny. Are you ready to fulfill what was spoken over you long before you took your first breath? If so, here is your first act of alignment. Type 777 in the comments below. In Scripture, the number 7 represents divine completion, spiritual perfection, and holy awakening. When you type this number, it's not just an internet comment. It's a signal to heaven, a declaration that you are ready to break the cycle of lack and step into the life you were destined for. Let this moment be your yes. Let it be your amen. And if this message is stirring something deep inside you, don't ignore it. That pull in your chest, that tear forming in your eye, that silent nod of your spirit, it's confirmation. This message found you because heaven aligned it to do so. Don't just watch. Participate. Like this video to anchor its message. Subscribe to this channel to walk with others on the same divine journey. Help us reach 5,000 subscribers by sharing this message of breakthrough and abundance. You are not alone. This is a movement, and you're already a part of it. Replay this message again and again. Let it sink deep into your soul like a seed planted in fertile soil. For the more you hear it, the more you will believe it. And the more you believe it, the more you will begin to live it. This is how the shift begins. This is how the chains begin to fall. You may not see all the results yet. But the moment you said yes, the spiritual atmosphere around you began to rearrange. The same God who parted the sea for Moses, who elevated Joseph from the prison to the palace, is moving on your behalf. And the same God who awakened generations through one willing soul, is now doing the same through you. So now, the question remains. Will you take the first step? Will you choose to believe that this message wasn't just for someone else, but that it was specifically designed for you? Will you claim the life you were born to live, the one not shaped by your past, but by God's eternal promise? Because chosen one, the chains are already loosening. The doors are already opening. The way is being made straight. And just like Joseph, who was once forgotten in a prison cell but later ruled over a nation, so too will you rise. So too will you walk into your palace moment. So too will you become the miracle your bloodline has waited for. Let us now transition into the next sacred revelation, because your story is only beginning. The chains you were born into are not your destiny. They are simply the stage for your transformation. And what comes next will prove to everyone, including yourself, that God truly saves His greatest breakthroughs for those who dare to believe. Have you ever stopped and wondered why your path has felt so different, why your questions ran deeper, why your dreams were louder, why your spirit refused to settle into what everyone else around you called reality? The truth is, it's not because you're rebellious. It's not because you're ungrateful. It's because you were never meant to inherit the chains your family carried. You were chosen to break them. The burdens you've been carrying, poverty, fear, emotional suppression, and the silent resignation of, this is just the way life is, these were never yours to keep. They were passed down, one generation to the next, like invisible heirlooms. Not with bad intent, but from survival. From heartbreak. From a long history of limitation. But now, it stops with you. You weren't born to repeat the patterns of the past. You weren't born to carry forward the stories of lack, silence, and self-doubt. You were chosen to interrupt them. You are the one appointed to rise and say, no more. While others accepted struggle as their portion, you heard a different voice, a whisper deep in your soul that said, there is more. Maybe it started as a quiet discomfort. You looked at the lives around you and wondered why no one questioned the suffering. Why no one challenged the beliefs that told them they would never rise higher. Perhaps you felt out of place, like a stranger in your own household. That ache of not belonging. That was not rejection. It was revelation. A revelation that you were never meant to blend in, you were born to break out. Do you remember the story of Joseph? He wasn't the oldest. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't even liked by his own brothers. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and locked away in a prison. But even in those dark places, God's hand was on him. What others meant for harm, God used for elevation. Joseph rose, not just for himself, but to save the very family that betrayed him. Genesis 50 verse 20 reminds us, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Like Joseph, you may have been misunderstood, dismissed, even mistreated. But every tear you've cried, every prayer you've whispered, every sleepless night was part of your preparation. Because your rise isn't just for you, it's for everyone connected to your name. You are the one who will transform wounds into wisdom. You are the one who will take what was broken and rebuild something sacred. This is not ego. This is calling. But let's be clear, the chains you're breaking aren't always visible. They don't just look like unpaid bills or lack of opportunity. They look like working hard and never getting ahead. They look like being afraid to dream because you've only ever known disappointment. They sound like voices whispering in your head, "People like us don't get rich. No one in this family has ever made it. Who do you think you are?" And if you've ever heard those voices and felt something rise up in you, a holy defiance, a quiet fire, that's the anointing. That's the chain breaker in you awakening. Every time you chose to believe instead of doubt, you shattered something. Every time you pursued growth instead of shrinking back, you shifted your spiritual inheritance. These weren't just personal decisions. They were acts of spiritual warfare. You see, breaking chains isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, sacred. Sometimes it looks like going to therapy when your family never talked about emotions. Sometimes it looks like starting a business when no one believes in you. Sometimes it's simply choosing to hope. These are not small things. They are seismic shifts. Each choice you make is sending shockwaves through your bloodline, healing what was once wounded, unlocking what was once buried. And yet, as you rise, don't be surprised if your family doesn't understand. They may question your decisions. They may say you've changed. They may call your dreams unrealistic. But it's not rejection, it's reflection. What they see in you is what they've never allowed themselves to hope for. And even if they can't say it, they are watching. And something in them is softening. Because whether they admit it or not, your rise is healing them too. Transformation feels foreign to those who've only known survival. But here's the truth, your success is not betrayal. It's restoration. You're not leaving your family behind, you're building a new foundation beneath their feet. You're showing them what's possible. And even if they can't follow now, you're clearing a path they can one day walk. This moment in your life, it's not just about breaking cycles. It's about building legacy. Think about that word, legacy. It's what remains long after you're gone. Not just money, but belief systems, emotional freedom, generational strength. Proverbs 13 verse 22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children." That inheritance isn't just material, it's spiritual. And you, chosen one, are laying the first bricks of that eternal blessing. You're not just escaping poverty. You're teaching prosperity. You're not just avoiding fear. You're modeling faith. You're not just surviving. You're showing your lineage how to thrive. And it doesn't matter where you came from. It matters what you're choosing now. Because with every brave decision, you are saying to the past, your hold ends here. And to the future, I'm making room for you to grow free. Can you feel the shift? The chains don't sound the same anymore. The weight is lighter. The sky feels wider. What once looked like walls now look like doors. You are not only rewriting your story. You are creating history. And this isn't pride, it's promise. It's the divine echo of every prayer your ancestors whispered. It's the answer to the questions they didn't know how to ask. You are that answer. You are the promise fulfilled. The curse ends with you. And the blessing begins. So stand tall, not with arrogance, but with authority. You have been chosen, not because you were the strongest, the wealthiest, or the most qualified, but because you were willing. And that willingness is enough to shift an entire lineage. You're not just stepping into abundance. You're remembering it. This isn't about striving to earn something new. It's about awakening to something ancient. Something sacred. Something that was always yours. Abundance isn't a prize for the perfect, or a reward for the relentless. It is a divine inheritance. It was written into your spirit before you ever took your first breath. And now, you're being called not to chase it, but to reclaim it. Many of us were raised to believe that prosperity was a distant dream, reserved for others, those who were lucky, those who came from better families, those with connections or special favor. We internalized scarcity as a kind of virtue, as if struggle somehow made us holier. But what if all of that was wrong? What if everything you've been taught about wealth, about worth, about what you're allowed to receive, was a lie? Think back to the Israelites who were led out of Egypt. They were physically free, no longer under the whip of Pharaoh, but mentally, they were still in bondage. Their bodies were in the wilderness, but their minds were still chained. They had left captivity, but captivity hadn't left them. And this, dear chosen one, is the mirror of your own journey. You've stepped out of the places that once held you down, generational poverty, emotional wounding, spiritual limitation, but if your mind is still clinging to not enough, the promised land will always feel out of reach. God's message through Jeremiah wasn't vague. It wasn't abstract. It was direct and deeply personal, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. This verse isn't a motivational quote, it's a divine decree. Prosperity is not an afterthought in God's plan for your life. It is the intention. And yet, too many of us struggle to believe that. We feel disqualified. We think we've made too many mistakes. We carry inherited beliefs that whisper, people like us don't get to live like that. So we settle. We minimize. We accept crumbs, and we call it contentment. But there comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the truth becomes louder than the lie. That moment is now. When you shift from scarcity thinking to abundant faith, everything changes. The old stories lose their grip. The patterns that once held you hostage begin to crack. Suddenly, you're no longer waiting for abundance to show up, you start aligning with it. And alignment is everything. Think about it. When you're in alignment with the frequency of abundance, doors open. Opportunities find you. Relationships that once felt strained begin to soften. The weight on your chest lifts. There's more ease. More clarity. More flow. It's not magic, it's alignment. It's what happens when your internal truth finally matches heaven's design for your life. And here's the revelation, abundance isn't something external that drops into your lap. It's the fruit of identity. When you truly know who you are, when you embrace your identity as someone chosen by God, you begin to expect more, not because you're greedy, but because you're grounded in truth. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it. Psalm 24 verse 1, that includes every resource, every connection, every idea, every breakthrough, every stream of income, every divine appointment. It was never about earning. It was always about receiving. And the only way to receive, is to believe. Look around you. The oceans don't strive to be vast. The skies don't hustle to stretch wide. Flowers bloom, rivers flow, stars shine, all without struggle. Why? Because they exist in harmony with their Creator's intention. And so must you. Maybe right now you're starting to notice the shift. Your energy feels lighter. You're no longer obsessing over outcomes. You're no longer begging for open doors, you're walking up to them with faith. You're no longer trying to prove your worth, you're resting in it. That's what awakening feels like. It's subtle at first, a thought that challenges the old narrative. A moment of peace where there used to be anxiety. A spark of vision where there used to be resignation. These are signs. Sacred signs. The soil of your spirit is changing. The roots of fear are being pulled up. The seed of divine abundance is starting to bloom. But understand this, awakening is not a destination. It's a posture. A daily return to the truth that you are not lacking. You never were. The world may have told you otherwise. Your upbringing may have modeled struggle. Your history may be filled with setbacks. But those are not your identity. They are not your truth. And truth always wins. You see, God doesn't call you into abundance so you can hoard or boast or compare. He calls you into it because abundance multiplies impact. It funds vision. It blesses others. It heals bloodlines. When your cup overflows, it doesn't stop at your feet, it spills into your family, your community, your world. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew 6 verse 33, that's not a suggestion, it's a strategy. When you prioritize God's presence, His principles, and His purpose, abundance becomes the natural result. But let me be clear. Awakening to abundance doesn't mean life becomes perfect. You'll still face resistance. The enemy doesn't want you to step into this truth. He wants you to stay small, stay silent, stay in lack. But you've already outgrown that. Your spirit knows too much. You've tasted too much of the divine. You can't go back to who you were before. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're in expansion. You're not running on empty, you're being filled daily with wisdom, strategy, and divine provision. You're not wondering if you're worthy, you're declaring that you are. And that declaration is opening doors no man can shut. So how do you continue in this awakening? Stay connected to the source. Guard your thoughts. Speak life over your finances, your body, your relationships. Surround yourself with voices that reinforce truth. Release anything that pulls you back into scarcity. And most of all, remember, abundance isn't earned. It's remembered. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to who God always knew you were. And now, as this truth settles deeper into your spirit, let this be your declaration: I was born for abundance. I was designed to thrive. I reclaim every forgotten inheritance, every delayed promise, every buried blessing. I align with heaven, and I walk in the fullness of what is already mine. The awakening has begun. And you, dear chosen one, are right on time. And as this realization takes root, something greater begins to stir, because abundance, once awakened, must take form. It must be lived, shared, and multiplied. So now, let's take one step further. Let's redefine what wealth really is, because it's not just about what you have. It's about who you're becoming. What if true wealth isn't measured by what you own, but by the life you create, the impact you make, and the freedom you feel? That question, simple yet seismic, invites you to dismantle everything you've been taught about prosperity. It asks you to go deeper, to peel back the polished layers of materialism and uncover the sacred truth that wealth is not about accumulation, it's about transformation. Not about status, but about stewardship. And not about having more, but about becoming more. For too long, society has sold us a shallow vision of success. It whispered that luxury cars, sprawling mansions, overflowing bank accounts, these are the emblems of a life well lived. But deep down, haven't you felt the emptiness of that equation? Haven't you seen people who have it all, but still feel hollow, restless, unfulfilled? The truth is, wealth that doesn't touch the soul is just decoration. Real wealth is freedom. It's waking up without dread. It's choosing purpose over pressure. It's knowing that your existence is making a difference beyond yourself. So let's redefine wealth, not as the weight of possessions, but as the weight your presence carries in the lives of others. Let's measure it by how many people breathe easier because you rose. Let's count it in the lives changed, the burdens lifted, the dreams revived because you dared to live fully, love deeply, and give generously. And that leads to the question that matters most: what will you do with this wealth? This isn't a rhetorical flourish, it's a divine challenge. You, chosen one, have been entrusted with more than resources. You've been entrusted with a sacred mission. Wealth isn't just your inheritance, it's your responsibility. It's not just for you, it's through you. In Proverbs 11 verse 25, the word declares, a generous person will prosper, whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. This isn't motivational fluff. It's spiritual law. The kingdom economy doesn't operate by hoarding, it thrives on release. The more you pour out, the more heaven pours in. Because you were never meant to be a reservoir. You were always meant to be a river. And here's what makes your journey so extraordinary: you're not just building a better life for yourself, you're constructing a blueprint for others to follow. You are the prototype. The living example. The proof that abundance and integrity can coexist. That faith and fortune are not enemies, but allies when stewarded well. When people look at you, they won't just see someone who rose, they'll see someone who brought others with them. Someone who didn't climb a ladder only to pull it up behind them, but who turned around, extended a hand, and said, "There's room for you too." That's what it means to be chosen, not to be elevated above, but to be rooted deep enough to elevate others. Because wealth, in the hands of the wrong spirit, becomes a weapon. But in the hands of someone with vision, someone aligned with God's heart, it becomes a force for healing, for justice, for generational change. It builds schools. It funds ministries. It restores communities. It breaks cycles of dependence and plants seeds of destiny. So the question isn't whether you'll have wealth. That's already decided in the heavenlies. The question is, what will your wealth do? Will it heal? Will it inspire? Will it disrupt poverty mindsets and usher in legacies of light? You weren't given abundance to keep it quiet. You were given it to make noise. To echo through your bloodline. To break the shame of lack. To teach your children, and their children, that there's nothing holy about staying small. That God is not glorified in your struggle, but in your surrender to His provision and His purpose. You are not a vault, you are a vessel. And yes, the world may still try to define your success by numbers. But heaven defines it by impact. By your obedience. By the people whose lives are touched because you said yes to becoming more than a consumer, you chose to become a contributor. This is a divine reversal. A holy rebellion. A correction of everything the world got wrong about what it means to live richly. True wealth says, I am free to say yes to my calling. True wealth says, I can give without fear of lack. True wealth says, I don't need to hoard because I trust the source. And here's the miracle in all of it: as you become the blueprint, the one others look to for hope, your life becomes a ministry without a pulpit. Your generosity becomes a sermon. Your peace becomes a testimony. Your vision becomes an invitation for others to see what's possible when you align your life with the truth that abundance is not a destination, it's your design. So if you've ever wondered, why me, this is your answer. Because you were meant to lead. Not with noise, but with fruit. Not with flash, but with faithfulness. You were chosen to embody a different kind of prosperity. One that doesn't shrink from the spotlight, but uses it to reveal the goodness of God. One that doesn't apologize for overflow, but leverages it to lift others up. You are walking proof that wealth isn't sinful when it's surrendered. That success isn't shallow when it's anchored in service. And that the blessed life isn't selfish, it's strategic. Because every dollar, every door, every divine opportunity that flows to you is also flowing through you, to build, to bless, to be a light in the dark. And one day, your name will be remembered. Not just for what you had, but for who you became. For the courage to redefine what wealth looks like. For the wisdom to handle it well. And for the love you let it carry. And now, as you step deeper into this sacred identity, not just as one who receives, but as one who releases, there is another dimension unfolding. Because the call on your life is not just about abundance, it's about leadership. Let us now step into what it truly means to carry the courage to lead. The world is watching, and you're ready. Have you ever wondered why it's you? Why you're the one in your family who feels called to rise, to break cycles, to challenge what's always been accepted as just the way it is? It's not a coincidence. You weren't born to blend in, you were born to lead. But let's pause right here and redefine what leadership truly means. Because in a world obsessed with power, status, and spotlight, God is whispering a deeper truth: true leadership isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's as quiet as choosing faith when fear is screaming. Sometimes, it's as subtle as showing up when everyone else steps back. It's not about commanding attention, it's about carrying presence. And your presence, chosen one, matters more than you know. You see, leadership in the kingdom doesn't look like the world's version. The world tells you that to lead, you must be perfect, confident, articulate, commanding. But the Bible tells a different story. It tells the story of Moses. A man who, when called by God, answered not with pride but with trembling. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" he asked in Exodus 3 verse 11. He doubted himself. He stuttered. He fled from responsibility. Yet God saw something different. God saw willingness. And in that willingness, he found a leader. Moses didn't feel ready. But heaven doesn't call the ready, it calls the willing. The same is true for you. So if you feel like you don't measure up, if you've ever said, "I'm not enough," you are exactly the kind of person God chooses to lead. Not because you're the loudest. Not because you're flawless. But because you carry something sacred, a heart willing to rise when it's uncomfortable, to stand when it's easier to sit, to move forward even when the path is unclear. You lead, not by force, but by faith. But here's something even more important: you are not called to fix everything. That burden was never yours. True leadership isn't about fixing, it's about inspiring. It's about becoming a living testimony. It's not about solving every problem in your family or carrying everyone's pain. It's about being faithful with what God has placed in your hands. You don't need to save the whole world. You just need to be faithful with your assignment. When you walk in obedience, your steps create ripple effects far beyond what you can see. Your healing speaks louder than your words. Your breakthrough becomes a blueprint. Your consistency, your resilience, your quiet refusal to quit, is leadership in motion. And while you may not hear it spoken aloud, people are watching. Your siblings. Your children. Your community. Even those who once doubted you. They are paying attention. Every choice you make, every time you rise instead of retreat, is whispering a message: if I can do it, so can you. You become the living permission slip for others to dream, to believe, to break free. This is what makes your leadership so powerful: it's authentic. It's not based on performance. It's based on truth. What if your greatest act of leadership isn't some grand speech or massive achievement, but simply living in alignment with the truth God placed inside you? What if leading is simply refusing to betray your calling, even when it costs you comfort? What if leadership is your quiet yes to God every single day? Let's return for a moment to David. When he stood before Goliath, everyone expected him to fight like a warrior. But David didn't wear Saul's armor, it didn't fit. He didn't use someone else's sword. He picked up the tools God had trained him with in secret, a sling and 5 stones. He trusted what was already in his hands. And God used that faith to bring down a giant. What does that mean for you? It means you don't need to be someone else to lead. You don't need a louder voice, a bigger platform, or more credentials. You just need to trust what's already in your spirit. The experiences you've lived. The battles you've survived. The faith you've cultivated in the dark. Leadership is about influence, not control. It's not about holding everything together, it's about showing others how to hold on. It's not about giving people all the answers, it's about giving them hope. When you walk in faith, when you keep going after rejection, when you keep sowing in love even when nothing seems to grow, your life becomes a roadmap. And others will follow, not because you forced them, but because your life gave them something to believe in. There's someone out there who will rise because you refuse to give up. Someone who will choose faith because they saw you do it first. Someone who will speak truth because your truth gave them courage. That's leadership. It's generational. It's legacy. It's not measured in applause, it's measured in the lives that get lifted because you said yes. And make no mistake, this role is not easy. Leading means going first. It means walking through the unknown. It means sometimes standing alone. But every step you take is making the way clearer for those behind you. You are building a path out of poverty, out of fear, out of limitation, not just for you, but for everyone connected to you. So I ask you today, can you embrace that? Can you accept that the mantle on your life is not just to break chains, but to build bridges? To be the one who leads not with pressure, but with peace? Can you trust that your quiet consistency is changing the atmosphere of your entire lineage? Because you, chosen one, are the leader your family didn't know they needed. You are the example your children will talk about. You are the shift your community will feel. And as you rise, others will rise. That's what leadership is. It's not about being above others, but being ahead of the breakthrough. Being the one who goes first, so others know it's possible. And now that you've embraced your role as a leader, not by title, but by truth, it's time to discover the final piece of this divine puzzle. Because your leadership is not just about where you're going. It's about what you're becoming. Let's step into the next chapter. You are the blueprint, the divine design for a new era of abundance and redemption. You are becoming the dream your ancestors couldn't touch but never stopped hoping for. Let that settle into your spirit. You are not just the first to break chains, you are the blueprint, the living design of what was once only whispered in the dark. For generations, your bloodline may have known only cycles of survival, scraping by, staying quiet, playing small. But you are different. You've been called not just to receive a blessing, but to embody a divine strategy, one designed by heaven to change the narrative of your entire lineage. Wealth is not chasing you because you're working harder than everyone else. Wealth is drawn to you because your spirit is finally aligned with your purpose. This isn't about hustle, this is about harmony. The world teaches that you must grind to be worthy, that success is only earned through exhaustion. But the kingdom of God operates on alignment, not depletion. You weren't born to break your back for crumbs, you were born to walk in overflow as a vessel of divine provision. When your heart, your beliefs, and your actions align with heaven's will, doors begin to open without force, and resources find their way to you like rivers returning to the ocean. So here is the question that shifts everything: what will you do with this wealth? Not just the money in your hand, but the influence in your voice, the vision in your spirit, the anointing on your life. Who will be touched by the decisions you make? Because you weren't given all this to build a kingdom of self. You were entrusted to build bridges, to restore what's been broken, to lead others into light by walking boldly into your own. The house you build isn't just for comfort, it's for shelter. The table you prepare isn't just for celebration, it's for feeding. Every gift in your life is connected to a greater assignment. You are not just a receiver, you are an architect. You're not just breaking curses, you're building new patterns. You are not only the first to rise, you are the one who opens the way for others. And that comes with both great honor and great responsibility. Others will look to you, not just to see what's possible, but to see how you did it. What you allowed. What you walked away from. What you chose to believe when belief felt foolish. That's why your consistency matters. That's why your integrity matters. Because you are laying stones for others to walk on. You see, wealth is not heaven's reward, it is heaven's tool. It is not given to flatter your ego, it is given to fulfill your mission. The opportunities that are aligning for you right now are not just random acts of favor. They are the strategic unfolding of a divine assignment. God didn't elevate Joseph to Pharaoh's palace so he could admire the view. He placed him there to preserve life. To feed a nation. To save the very brothers who once betrayed him. And in the same way, the elevation you are stepping into is purposeful. You are being positioned to provide for others, to open doors that no man can shut, to become a sanctuary of wisdom, compassion, and impact. Let's go even deeper. The wealth you are called to hold is not just about finance, it's about frequency. It's about the energy you bring into every room, the healing your presence offers, the shift that happens when you speak from your soul. You are the shift your family didn't know it needed. You are the revelation your community has been waiting for. Every decision you make in alignment with your purpose isn't just changing your future, it's changing the future of everyone who comes after you. Think about this, your life is becoming a new reference point. A new normal. Where your family once expected struggle, they now see success. Where they once feared dreaming, they now find permission. You're building a legacy that transcends time. One where your children's children will not have to fight the same battles you did. They will inherit possibility, not limitation. That's the power of becoming the blueprint. It's not just about wealth, it's about healing. It's not just about success, it's about redemption. Your life becomes the map for those who lost their way. Your victory becomes the testimony that builds faith in others. And yes, that kind of calling can feel weighty. It can feel like too much. But you were built for this. You were prepared in silence for a season of visibility. Every hidden season, the tears, the setbacks, the rebuilding, was part of your spiritual training. God was cultivating depth in you so your legacy could have roots. And now the world will see the fruit. So what does it mean, practically, to be the blueprint? It means choosing vision over validation. It means walking in alignment even when applause is absent. It means making decisions not just for convenience, but for consequence. It means knowing that your yes to obedience is echoing into generations you may never meet. It means owning your light and refusing to dim it for the comfort of others. You are not just here to break something, you are here to build something. And what you're building is holy. It's lasting. It's revolutionary. When you walk into a room, something shifts. When you open your mouth, chains break. You weren't called to conform, you were called to disrupt. To realign your lineage with the original plan of heaven, abundance, purpose, redemption, and expansion. And let this truth guide your next step. You don't have to have it all figured out to be the blueprint. You just need to keep moving in faith. Now that you've embraced your place as the blueprint, it's time to rise fully into the purpose you were born to fulfill. Because this journey is not ending, it's only accelerating. The next chapter. It's all about legacy through transformation. Let's step forward together. There comes a point in your journey when wealth stops being just about you. It becomes something deeper, something sacred. It becomes healing. Not just for your life, but for your lineage. That is where you are now. You are standing at the intersection of generations, where the prayers of those who came before you and the dreams of those not yet born converge in your obedience, your courage, and your abundance. You are not merely collecting success. You are becoming the answer to a legacy of silent suffering. Abundance was never meant to stop at you. It was meant to flow through you. To mend what was broken. To redeem what was lost. To restore what was silenced. The wealth you are stepping into is not just a financial shift, it is a spiritual assignment. It is the divine strategy heaven designed to end cycles of scarcity, shame, and suppression in your family. You are not just the first to reach this height. You are the one chosen to bring healing to generations who never had the chance to taste freedom. Can you hear their whispers? We didn't come this far for you to stop here. Those who came before you, your ancestors, may not have had the opportunities you do. They labored, they wept, they endured. They dreamed in silence. They whispered prayers that no one heard aloud. But heaven heard. And now, through you, heaven is answering. You are not here to live for yourself. You are here to live as the fulfillment of their hopes. Your success is their redemption. Your abundance is their answered prayer. Think of Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers. Sold into slavery. Imprisoned unjustly. Forgotten. Misunderstood. But none of it was wasted. Because through it all, God was positioning him. Not just to survive, but to save. Joseph didn't just rise for himself. He rose so that in a time of famine, he could feed the very family who once discarded him. And now, like Joseph, you are rising. Not because the journey was easy, but because you were obedient through the difficulty. Not because you never cried, but because you never quit. Your rise is not just a victory, it is a bridge. A bridge between generational pain and generational prosperity. A bridge between cycles of silence and voices that speak with authority. A bridge between surviving and truly living. You are that bridge. You are the one who is turning inherited pain into purpose. You are the one who is transforming unspoken trauma into triumphant testimony. And that bridge is built through your alignment with divine abundance. When you choose healing over hiding, when you choose purpose over patterns, when you choose to become the first in your family to dream differently, spend differently, invest differently, forgive differently, you are tearing down altars of limitation and erecting monuments of liberation. You are declaring to your bloodline, this ends with me. But it also begins with me. This is what spiritual wealth looks like. Not just numbers in a bank account, but peace in the heart. Clarity in the mind. Purpose in the soul. And legacy in your hands. It means your children will know joy before they know anxiety. It means they will inherit possibility, not poverty. It means they will ask, what's next, not what's left. That's the power of divine abundance. It doesn't just fill, it overflows. And in the overflow, healing begins. Jesus said, I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full, John 10 verse 10. Not life in fragments. Not life in limitation. But life in fullness. And you, chosen one, are the embodiment of that promise. You are living proof that freedom is possible. That wealth and worship can coexist. That prosperity is not a worldly temptation, it is a heavenly intention. Let's be clear, the wealth that's coming to you is not a reward for perfection, it's a resource for purpose. It is not for status, it is for service. It is not to elevate your ego, it is to elevate generations. Your healing will ripple through time. Your restoration will echo backward and forward. Your obedience today is rewriting your family's tomorrow. So ask yourself, what will you do with this wealth? Who will feel safer, freer, more inspired because of your success? Who will have access to education, vision, and hope because you chose to rise? Because you chose to forgive? Because you chose to heal instead of harden? You are not just a financial steward, you are a spiritual intercessor. Your wealth is prayer in action. Your generosity is intergenerational justice. Your legacy is the sound of chains breaking in the spirit. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to apologize for abundance. This is the time to walk boldly, humbly, and purposefully into your divine inheritance. To understand that every dollar you steward, every investment you make, every act of generosity you offer, these are acts of spiritual warfare. These are acts of restoration. These are acts of honoring those who could not dream as far as you do now. You are not just building wealth, you are building memory. A new kind of memory for your family line. Where fear used to live, faith now resides. Where lack used to rule, legacy now reigns. Where pain used to echo, purpose now shouts. This is your season to heal by rising. This is your moment to say, it stops with me, and it begins again with me. You were chosen not only to prosper, but to purify the past. To pave a new path. To open the gates so that others may walk through unchained, unashamed, and unafraid. Now that you understand your wealth is not just for your hands, but for the healing of your bloodline, the next step is to fully embody the life you were born to live. Because this is no longer about preparation, it's about activation. What you've built within is ready to manifest without. Let's walk forward into your divine fullness. You're not standing at the edge anymore. You're not knocking on the door, waiting for permission to enter. No, chosen one. The door has opened. The invitation has been extended. You're not approaching a blessing, you are stepping into it. Fully. Boldly. Completely. This isn't a preview. This is the appointed moment. And you are ready. This is not just the end of one season, it is the beginning of the life you were born to live. Everything that came before, every struggle, every delay, every lonely night of asking, why me? Was not for nothing. It was preparation. It was refining. It was breaking the patterns of old, so that you could be free to walk forward unchained. You're no longer the one waiting for change. You are the change. You are no longer hoping for a new story, you are living it. Let this truth settle in, you have crossed over. You've crossed from waiting into walking. From striving into thriving. From merely surviving into carrying the oil of destiny. This is not the moment to shrink or question if you're worthy. This is the time to rise. Because the season has changed. The air is different. The weight you carried has lifted, and now you move lighter, freer, surer of the promise God made to you. You're not stepping into prosperity because you've earned it. You're stepping into it because you were designed for it. Prosperity is not a surprise ending, it's the divine blueprint you were born with. But now, finally, your soul believes it. Your mind agrees. Your actions align. And heaven responds. Because spiritual wealth was never meant to be the reward at the end of a hard road, it was always the road itself. Walking in truth. Living in alignment. Trusting God's voice more than your circumstances. And now that you've made it here, the question isn't whether you're ready for the life God designed for you. The question is, are you willing to receive it? Pause for a moment. Breathe in the gravity of that question. Are you ready to receive everything God has prepared for you? Are you ready to live no longer as the one carrying generational pain, but as the one delivering generational promise? Are you ready to stop playing small and start living in the fullness of your assignment? This is where everything changes. Not because someone gave you permission, but because you gave yourself the permission to believe. To believe that God really did choose you. That all of this wasn't some cosmic coincidence, but a divine calling. That your lineage didn't end with brokenness, it begins again with restoration. Through you. And so now, it's time to declare it. To seal it in the Spirit. If this message has pierced your heart, if it has confirmed what your soul already knew, then don't leave this moment quietly. Leave a comment with 777 to mark the divine completion of your old season. The number 7 is the number of divine fullness, of spiritual perfection. It is the language of heaven's conclusion, and your new beginning. Let it be known in the realm of both spirit and earth, you have crossed over. The old cycle is finished. The new has begun. Then, share this message. Not because it helps the algorithm, but because it helps set others free. Someone in your life, maybe someone in your own family, is still standing at the threshold, unsure if they're allowed to step forward. Let your courage become their confirmation. Let your obedience become their open door. Sharing this message isn't just posting a video, it's planting a seed of breakthrough in someone else's soil. And finally, offer your gratitude. Not out of formality, but as a declaration of identity. Thank God for choosing you. For trusting you. For anointing you to be the first, the one who rises, the one who rewrites the story. Speak these words from your heart, even now. Thank you, Lord, for allowing me to be the one in my family who rises. Thank you for trusting me to break the chains. Thank you for giving me the strength to carry the promise forward. You are no longer who you used to be. You are no longer waiting for someone else to do what only you were born to do. You are no longer held hostage by old patterns, old fears, or old limitations. You are the new pattern. You are the healed legacy. You are the blueprint of bold faith and unwavering obedience. And from this day forward, you don't just carry favor, you carry responsibility. You carry light. You carry breakthrough. So stand up. Step forward. Own your role in this story. And never look back. Because the best is not behind you. The best is not even now. The best is still yet to come. And now that you've stepped into the life you were born to live, everything that comes next will not be about surviving the storm, but about building the kingdom. Prepare your heart, because the next chapter won't just be about breakthrough. It will be about becoming the blessing.